Welcome to the Get Your Act Together podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I want to talk delegating. I want to talk delegating because I think it's such a mysterious thing for business owners that they don't know how to get started, and it can be scary. That's what I hear. That's what I hear from other business owners. Like, they want to hire help, but it's scary and it's hard, and people are going to touch my stuff and mess it up, and they kind of just don't know where to start. And then on the other side of that, I hear from VAs and OBMs and DOOs like that it's chaotic sometimes getting hired and being brought into a company. It's unclear. Like, sometimes it's unreasonable not because people are bad people, but they just don't know what they're doing. So I wanted to talk about that because I think I have a unique point of view, because not only have I been hired over the years as a person to come into a company, I've been hired into companies as an online worker, but I also have a team. This month is 7 years in my business, and I've grown a team, and I have gone through the iterations of figuring out how to hire people, and some were great, some were not so great, and mostly because of me, because I didn't know what I was doing. So since this is always a hot topic, people are always going to need help in their businesses, I thought that I would just kind of talk about what works and what you should be looking for when you're trying to delegate. So the first thing is super important, and I think it's skipped over by a lot of people, and that is getting clear on what you actually need help with. It sounds simple, right? Like, okay, well, I'm going to go get some help. What do I need help with, right? Except most people skip this step. They go straight to hiring a certain job title that they're not even really sure what it means. And then chaos ensues. So a lot of times I will talk to someone and they have been told by a coach or a peer, or they've heard online that they should hire a certain job title, like a VA or an OBM. And they're not really sure what they do, but they are pretty sure that they're going to be the person that needs help or that can help them with whatever they need help with. And they're not really sure what that is either. So everything's super unclear. Then that person gets hired, most times from a very inconsistent hiring process. And they get there, and now no one really knows what they're doing. Like, no one knows what they should be doing, because the owner of the business never got clear on what they needed. So getting clear on that is super important. What do you actually need help with in your business? Sit down with a piece of paper and think about the different things that you might need help with. And what do you think that you could hand off? What do you think that someone could help you with? Now, it's easy when you're hiring for a certain thing, like you need photos, so you hire a photographer. Those are clear. But if you're hiring a VA to help with some work or some operation stuff, that's what I've heard a lot. Some operation stuff. I don't know. This stuff, however it gets run. But like actual tasks, like what are the first couple tasks you could give someone? What are the easiest things you could give away? What are the most time-consuming things you could give away? What are the things you really hate doing? Really, you just don't like doing them. Maybe it's a tedious thing you just hate doing. Or it's something that maybe you're like, I shouldn't be doing this. I have other important things that I should be doing to run this business. Start a list of the things that you really need help with. And then once you get that picture together, then you can start figuring out what that job role is. It doesn't have to be you could figure out what the title is after, but figure out what the tasks are or the scope of the work is first. The next thing is, this is a big one, and it is really just down to not knowing any better, and we've all done it. But hiring for one job, not 5 jobs. I see a ton of job opportunities come through, job postings come through in a lot of the groups that I'm in. And they are 5 jobs in one, and they are priced at a VA, but they want work to be actually done. They want data entry. They want management of a team. They want strategy. Like, those are 3 different levels, if you were looking at it in a corporate way, of work. And they're 3 different people. Certain people are going to be very good at one thing. Certain people are going to be very good at another. And there are generalists that can get you started, but understanding what the job is in a reasonable way. So if you want someone to build your funnels and be on sales calls and do data entry and run payroll and do your bookkeeping, like those are all different things. And no one is going to be very good at all of them. You might be able to have someone help you in the beginning to get started, but after that, you're going to need specialized people for those things. Bookkeeping is a skill. It's super hard. Krista on my team takes care of that. I do my basic bookkeeping, but I can't go and do someone's bookkeeping. That's not my thing. I'm learning to build my own funnel. I have funnels. I've learned to build them, but it doesn't mean that I should go and build a whole bunch of funnels for someone. That's why we've always been very specific here when we are being asked to be hired as operations people in Reynolds OBM. Like, we don't do launches. I don't build funnels. Those are things I'm not good at. The only reason we have bookkeeping on some of our services is because I have Kristen. I cannot do all the things well, and neither can this one person that you're hiring. And I know that that is hard in the beginning because you're not really sure what goes to what, right? If you haven't been in HR, or even like hiring in some kind of managerial position in like corporate, you're not really going to understand that. But think of it this way. Like, there's like doers, there's like managers, and there's strategy. And those three things are different people. And then if there are different lanes like bookkeeping and sales, very different lanes, different ways brains work. So trying to say, okay, well, is this all kind of, does this sound like the same thing? And are you going to get it wrong? Sure. Is some nasty troll going to point that out on Facebook group? Probably. But you're going to get over it and you're going to keep going. So just keep listening, which is my next point, is listening to the market. When you put a job post out and you have a bunch of people say, there's no way that anyone's going to do this job for $25 an hour, let's say. It's very high level. Listen to the market. You can say, I can't afford that. You can adapt. You can see what's going on. Listen to the market. If you have a lot of pushback on something, look at your job posting, look at your description. Try to see if what you're asking for is hard or it doesn't make sense. It's too much together. On the converse of that, if you have no one responding at all to your job posting, it doesn't sound enticing. So why? So how can you fix it? Is it too much? Does it seem crazy? I've seen job postings like, you must be proficient, if not an expert, in 35 systems. I'm like, I've been in this business for 7 years and we're good at what we do. And there's no way that I know 35 systems like an expert. There's no way you can be that. You can't work in 35 systems that often to know that what's going on. You know what I mean? So if you're hearing feedback, take it to heart. Now, if people are jerks and they're haters, just maybe roll that over. Take it in, but don't take it to heart. I don't want you to think like you have to listen to every troll on Facebook. When you have haters or trolls on there, sometimes that's just on them. Like, they want to do that work, but they want to be paid a lot more money. Like, this job isn't for them. So I am telling you to listen to the market. I am telling you to take feedback in. But at the same time, there's always those people out there that are just giving you crap to give you crap. So just ignore them. Next thing is showing up professionally. And this goes for both sides of the relationship. I have told the story before, I'm sure, on this podcast, but I had someone show up on an interview, and I'm a pretty lax. There's not 7 layers of interviews in here. I can't stand people that do that. But they showed up on the call with me in their pajamas while shopping at Target. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I can't have that. I have people that are client facing. I can't have that. Like, here, client, here's your new VA who's in her pajamas at Target, not even paying attention to you. That didn't go over well. So showing up professionally, and I'm not saying you have to be in a suit, but in a quiet place where you're paying attention, you are obviously giving your focus to this interview, those kind of things. Put on some clothes, maybe. Shower even. And I say that as well for business owners. I get on every interview dressed and ready to go. I'm not in a ball gown. I'm not in a business suit. Right now I'm in a turtleneck sweater. But I show up to be professional. I showered. I brushed my hair. I want to show up professionally so the people that are interviewing with me know that I value their time. I've shown up and I'm giving them my focus. And I want the same back. I want to know that they are giving me their time and their respect. So showing up professionally is a big thing with me. And it really carries a long way. And maybe I'm just stodgy because I was in corporate and I missed the close of Wall Street. But I think it's important. I think it's a respect thing. So another huge part, having the scope for the job clear. Clearly knowing what you want to hire for. And then when you're hiring, telling that person what they actually are going to do. So many times I feel like there is this disconnect. The person is hired and they're not really sure what they're going to get hired for. They're not really sure what the job entails. Like it's admin or it's tech or whatever. But then when they get in there, it's kind of, well, whatever comes up, I'm just going to throw at you. It's very chaotic. We don't know what kind of hours we're working. We don't know who we're handling, what kind of thing we're doing. It's just all a big mess. So being clear about the scope, like what hours can be expected if this is an hourly position, or what hours should be contacted. I'm only going to talk to you between 9 and 4. I'm never going to send you, my team knows I will never text them at 9 o'clock at night with anything. If I text them or if I message them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I feel bad because it's the end of the day as far as I'm concerned. So expectations, like not just the hours, what kind of communication am I going to expect? Am I going to be getting a text, an email, a call, a this, a that, a Slack message? Nope. Here, we are very clear on office hours. We're very clear. Almost all communication is through Slack at this point, unless they have a question or they want to get on a call, then we can huddle or get on a Zoom. The way I work, they know that when they can work. Otherwise, if you don't know those things, I've been with people like that where I wasn't really sure when the day was over. So I was chained to my desk in the beginning, answering questions. And I always felt bad. Like I'm trying to make dinner and I'm getting questions and I didn't have enough boundaries when I was new. And that person didn't know when to stop the day. So little things like that, the scope of the job, not just timing, the type of work you're doing. That is a huge thing with scope creep. You start a job and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this for them. And then all of a sudden you go into a meeting and they're like, all right, well, now you're going to do this too. And you're like, well, that's not what I was hired for. And they're like, yeah, but we need somebody to do it. So you're going to do it. And now you're like, well, if I don't say yes, are they going to get rid of me? Like, why am I being told to do work that I didn't know about? And then you get this like weird trust thing that comes up. And it all just descends into chaos. I've heard this from a lot of people. I've heard a lot from my coaching clients because they're with a client. The scope creeps crazy. Like all of a sudden they're doing everything. The VA leaves and now they're doing the VA's work and then their work and then somebody else's work and no one's getting hired to replace them. And now it's just all one job. And everyone is really unhappy. And that's what this all comes down to. Like people are unhappy, but both sides become unhappy because the owner doesn't think that what they want to get done is getting done because they were never clear about what the actual thing was to get done. And then the person who's trying to do the work is trying to do their best, but the goalpost moves all the time. They're not really sure if they're doing a good job. And there's no feedback loop to tell them whether they're doing a good job. So it ends up this like cranky situation where everyone's complaining to their friends about the other person. And I see this so many times and I hate it. I hate it because this could be so much easier if certain things were put into place. If there was preparation involved in getting this person hired, delegating this work, whatever it is, the preparation here is the key. And that's having systems. And I know you're going to say, oh, Kelly, you always like systems. But seriously, this is one of the big places where systems is super important. Hiring and training, super important. It's like that and getting out of the day-to-day. It's super important because this is a time waste and a money waste by far. If you are not prepared to go and delegate, you're just wasting time and money. Time because you're going to go and hire this person. You're going to argue with them. You're going to answer a million questions if you're not prepared for training them. You're going to your day is going to be spent answering questions, maybe fixing things because they weren't sure what they were supposed to be doing. And then money because you should be doing something else that makes money. And you will be paying them in the middle of all this chaos. Like they could have been way more efficient if they knew what they were doing. So being prepared is really super crucial here. Knowing what you want them to do, getting them ready so that everything's ready. Systems, training. Now in the beginning, you're not going to have everything put together. You are not going to have every SOP that you need. And you can bring on someone that is going to help you grow that. But you need enough to know where to start. You need the systems in place to say, okay, this is the place where we keep all the things. Here are the things that we use. This is the clear job that I want you to do. And then you can start going. And then that person can maybe come in and help you. Okay? Being prepared, crucial. It is where I see so much go wrong, mostly because no one knows what's going on. It's just chaos. Like you have to wait to get work. You have to wait for questions if you're the worker side of it, for lack of a better term, but you're waiting and you're wasting time. Whereas the business owner is like, why are you taking so much time? Why do I have to answer so many questions? So the key here to meet in the middle and make this really work well is systems. It is actually why over all these years, I've seen this so many times in my clients' businesses and coaching businesses, in my own business. I wasn't great at the beginning. And it's why I created the 4-week systems intensive that we do. It's all about getting like a system to put in place. So there's one place to look for everything. Your team knows where to go ask questions because they're not coming to you. They're going to this hub where they can ask all their questions. They can look up their questions, I guess. And they can find everything out without having to bother you all the time. They also feel awesome because they have a training center where they can look things up and they don't feel like they don't know what they're doing. They don't feel that they're having to follow you around to ask you questions because no one likes that, right? Like my team, even to this day, I'm like, ask me any questions you want. And they're like, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm like, no, it's fine. You can always bother me. But because they've already looked through all the information I have, we already looked through the SOPs and then they come to me. And I got to tell you, they rarely have to come to me besides like chit chat. Like I chat with them all the time, but like they don't come to me with a ton of questions because we have our systems mapped out. We have our SOPs in there. We have videos. And that means that they can then go look there first. So that is why we created the systems intensive. It is the system we've been using in our own in Reynolds OBM. It's the system I've created in other operations management clients. It's the system that I created that helped make sure that the sale of a client's business was a lot easier. So creating one place to have all the information and then creating those systems and assets inside that place so that you can train people, they can get their questions answered, and everything becomes a lot easier. I know I harp on systems a ton, but if you've been listening to this podcast at all in the last 6 months with all of these guests, there is a theme that comes up over and over again. It's not just me that preaches this all the time. It is the thing that runs businesses. It is the reason that businesses run well, that they're consistent, that teams are happy, that there's a good culture. It's super important. So if you've been listening to this, you've heard this time and time again. The guests say this too. So I'm not crazy, people. Make sure if you are going to start delegating, you are clear on what you need. You are hiring for one job, not 5. That you are open to listening to the market to see what's out there, especially if this is new to you and you're not really sure what the going rate is for things or what is one job instead of 5. Show up and really respect the people that are taking the time out of their day to talk to you as well. You're interviewing them, but they're interviewing you as well. Having clear scope to the job. What will this person be doing? And then if that scope changes, having a conversation with them, maybe if they even want that kind of work, not just giving them whatever you want. And then, of course, having systems. Make sure you're preparing to delegate. Don't just go into this like chaos, tornado. It's stressful. It's stressful for everyone, all sides. It's stressful. So know what you need. And if you need help, go to reynoldsobm.com, schedule a call with me, and I will tell you if I can help you get ready to delegate with our systems intensive. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you have an agency or want to create one, come join my Facebook community, Get Your Agency Together, where we talk all the things growing and scaling your agency. For show notes and more info on all the things, head over to reynoldsobm.com. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at ReynoldsOBM. And finally, if you enjoy this podcast, I would love for you to give us a review on iTunes.